Welcome to La Taverna Friuli podcast, the definitive podcast on the wines of Friuli Venezia Giulia. I'm your host, Wayne Young. Join me here each week for casual conversations with wine people and other characters from the undiscovered region of Friuli Venezia Giulia in northeastern Italy. Hello, Friuli wine friends, and welcome back to another episode of La Taverna in English. All of my English-speaking friends out there, how you doing? How's everybody doing out there? Have you been listening to some back episodes? Have you learned a little bit of Italian? Anyway, it's a great day here in Friuli Venezia Giulia, and I am so excited to present on this episode Nikolas Juretic. I met Nikolas at a tasting with Emanuele Muzzo a few months ago, years ago. Not really sure exactly how long ago that was. And met him, really liked his wines. Lovely bottles. I mean, we talk a little bit about his wine labels here during the podcast, but one of the things that I didn't put together until after we had finished recording is his wine labels are painted by him. You will notice that during the interview, Nikolas talks about being an art student. And then when I said, well, who does your labels? He was like, I do. So yeah, he's definitely a talented guy, really interesting winemaker, really low intervention wines, just doing a lot of great stuff, tiny producer. But the most important thing that I wanted to talk to him about, and the reason why his name came up, was because last week while I was doing my 4-part series, which is going to be coming out in January, the first time ever Friuli, La Taverna Friuli outside of Friuli Venezia Giulia. 4 episodes on Burda, 8 producers, 4 episodes, might even do 8 episodes, splitting those up into 4. And haven't quite gotten to the editing portion of the program just yet. And I was speaking to one of the producers. I was speaking to the Lan Kristiancic from the Movia winery, and he was talking about this project called Senza Meja. Senza Meja is actually a mashup of 2 different languages, Senza being without in Italian and Meja being borders in Slovenian. And the idea was to put together like-minded growers of grapes and promote each other in a cooperative manner. We talk a bit about that towards the second half of this podcast, but Nikolas's name came up as sort of the originator of this idea and this Senza Meja project, and so I wanted to have him on. I said, yes, that's the guy I met with Emanuele Muzzo, and I really like this wine, so let's give him a call. And he was super available and super ready to come to the studio at the Tasting Academy of Colli Orientali and spend some time with us. And without further ado, let's get into this conversation with Nikolas Juretic. So, all right. We just poured a glass of wine. Nikolas, what are we drinking?
So we are drinking a glass of wine from my label Mont, which is a single vineyard.
Okay.
I work mainly with single vineyards. And this is a single vineyard on the hill Quarin in Cormons.
Okay.
On the north side, so the locality is called Montona. That's
Montona.
The fantasy name Mont to it. And it's a field blend, so it's not a cuvée. It's a field blend because it's an old vineyard planted with Tocai Friulano, approximately 80%. And the rest part is Piccolit and Malvasia.
Oh, okay.
Malvasia Striana. And
no Ribola.
a few plants.
A few plants.
It's not enough to mention in the percentage of the varieties.
Good. So it's a pure field blend. So you pick everything at the same time, vinify everything together.
Yes. This particular site is a north side. So it's something very unique for this region. And that means it's a bit a colder side of the hill. And because of the less hours of sunshine, especially in September, we harvest this vineyard in multiple times. Because we follow the ripeness of the single grapes.
Okay.
So it means we harvest from minimum 2 to maximum 3 times happened since
Okay.
now. And we go through and try to harvest always the most ripe grapes at the right moment and leave the others to ripen more.
Okay. So,
But the varieties are not separated. So we harvest what is riper. Doesn't matter which variety.
so it's not like you go and harvest first the Friulano and then it's just, go through, oh, these are ripe, the whole
Yes,
vineyard. Then,
correct.
so you just mix it up. And do you add them in, or do you sort of do two harvests vinified separately and then blend
The
them
fermentation is separated, but as
Okay.
soon as the fermentation is finished, then we blend them directly.
later? Okay.
So it's maybe maximum 3 weeks they are separated, and after 3 weeks, approximately in the cellar, they go together and they stay together. Yeah.
Okay. So I see on the back that it says Juretic Roberto
Roberto is my father.
is your father. Okay. So he started the azienda, obviously.
Yes, correct. He started, but never a winery. So he also my grandfather before, always from my father's side, they used to have vineyards, but they were selling grapes. Only. And my idea was one day to start making wine, and after I did different experiences around, for sure we'll talk about it later. And I've decided to start and find a cellar to rent where I could start to work, because we never had a cellar in the family as well. And and so I started.
So how old are you, Nicholas?
I'm 35.
35. Okay. Young guy. When did you start making wine?
My first experiment was when I was 19.
Ooh.
But then seriously, I started when I was 28. So in 2018 vintage.
Okay. Did your dad encourage you to become a winemaker rather than just a grape grower? Or was that something that he was saying, no, it's just problems and just headaches?
Yeah, more the second version. So yes,
Okay.
he was always, it's a funny story. Our family, all of us at the end, we are three brothers. And my mom, my father, all of us always worked in the wine industry. Someone like my father was just producing grapes. My mom was working in a wine bar for a long time in the Enoteca di Cormons. She was a director there for many, many years.
That's right.
And my brother studied enology. I did not, because at the beginning I did not like much viticulture and enology when I was a young boy. And my youngest brother as well did not like. But at the end, all of us ended up working there.
Really?
And my father kind of never pushed us to do this. So it was the decision.
Your choice.
Yeah.
Maybe
our
that's
choice.
why you came around.
Maybe.
Normally it's when the parents are pushing, you find them that they sort of rebel. It's like, I was supposed to be a lawyer. My mother wanted me to be a lawyer. And once I got to high school, I was like, I do not want to be a lawyer. So when you let them decide, they're sort of more likely to turn around. Was there a moment when you sort of said, oh, wait, this is really what I want to do? Was there a moment when you sort of realized that, sort of the light bulb popped on for you?
Yes, it happened. So after my high school studies, I studied art, so totally different field. But I started to work directly in the wine industry. So in some wineries, in some vineyards, friends, most of my best friends have a winery.
Okay.
So that's how I started to just had a job and to get some money.
Get some money, yeah.
And then suddenly one day I was talking with a important person from the area, Giulio Colomba, and he told me like, if you want to do a nice experience, go to Australia. I have a great friend in Australia, and you can have a good time. They plant also a lot of Friuli varieties there, and you will have a nice experience. And that's how I did it. It was like end of January, and I wrote an email to this winery, and they answered me straight away and said, hurry up. Book a ticket, come here, harvest is starting soon.
Okay.
And come as quick as you can. And in Australia, then I really fell in love with this job, with viticulture, with making wine, especially because of their approach, I think, the way they were working, the way they were giving me responsibilities and believing in me. They were very curious to work with someone coming from Friuli. I was not the most experienced guy, because actually I was more or less just drinking wine with friends and working a little bit in the vineyards, so I had not a big experience. But anyway, they were happy to have someone with a cultural origin from Friuli, and they were working a lot with Tokai Friulano.
Okay.
They invested a lot in Tokai Friulano in the last years, also then with Ribolla Gialla, Malvasia, and other varieties which are common here.
What was the winery?
It's called Quili. It's a winery in the Mornington Peninsula, south of Melbourne on the ocean. And it's an area very popular for Chardonnay and Pinot Noir, because it's quite a cooler climate of Australia. And they invested a lot in Pinot Grigio at the beginning. And then while they were doing their trips in Europe to discover the other varieties of Europe, they discovered Toccaia Friulano, and then they fell in love with it. And they started with that as first variety from Friuli.
How was that Australian Friulano?
For me, it was not easy to compare it at the beginning because I had not so much experience actually here in this area. But what was nice was directly the first year when I came, we talked a lot about making macerations and discovering this world because it was 2012. And those times were the moment where in the world, everyone was looking to the like orange wine coming on out of Friuli and Slovenia. And so we tried directly to make some vinifications with some skin contact, without, and so on to just discover these other techniques.
Right.
And make some experiences. So for me, it was also a new start.
Okay. And so that's when you sort of got this idea that this was what you wanted to do.
Yes. I spent there 2 years, not in a block. I was doing other things in between. I came also back and did harvest again here in Europe in between.
Okay.
So in autumn 2012. Then in November or December, I went back to Australia and stayed there again for another season.
So you did like 4 harvests in
correct.
2 years.
Yeah. And that was nice. So it was a very nice period of my life where I could really learn a lot and experience a lot. For me, it was then a big fight actually inside myself to decide what to do, to stay there or not. They offered me a job in that time and they offered me the possibility to stay.
Okay.
But then I really started to this desire to grow and to make my own wine started actually there. And that's why I decided to come back.
Okay.
And because I know
Because you would have been working for them there.
Yeah.
But when you come back here, you'd be working for yourself.
Yes, correct. That was the idea. Even if that didn't happen, because then when I came back, I met Marco Simonit and I started my work with him because he offered me a job.
Okay.
And I needed anyway some money to start any kind of project. And I started this project with Marco, this work with the Preparatory d'Uva. And then my actually wine business have started much later in 2018. So 5 years later.
5 years later. So, and now you do that full time. You don't work with Marco anymore.
I just quit my job this year. Yes, it was.
So you're full time in your own dream.
Yes,
here.
now yes.
Fantastic.
Finally, yeah.
That's good. I love the label on your bottle. These big sort of, I remember when I was working at Bastianich, we would call this type of label linsuola, right? This sheet, this sort of covers, and it really dresses the bottle very nicely. And it is I guess the version of this tree.
Yes, there is.
It's this one right here, right?
Yeah.
Yep. So
it's a big oak tree we have in the middle of this vineyard.
Okay.
And the view from there is amazing because it's a north-facing vineyard from the southwest hill of the Collio. So we see the whole Collio Berda region and the Alps from our vineyard. Is amazing.
Okay. And obviously this isn't the only wine.
No, I make more labels. Yeah, I make 3 single vineyards. The second one is in localita Pratis, which is between Cormons and Capriva Friuli.
Okay.
It's
so
the lowest hills of Collio, the southwest hills as well. And then I have 1 more hectare in San Floriano del Collio, which is the village where my father comes from. And we could rent a vineyard there from the sister of my grandfather since 2023. It was my first vintage there.
So how would you describe, I mean, I'm looking at a very particular sort of style of wine here, but how would you describe the wines that you make? And are they all made with sort of this kind of philosophy? Or tell me a little bit about your philosophy of making wine.
The idea is to make a lower intervention as possible. So I rarely use sulfites at the beginning of the vinification. Mostly I don't, but in some vintages with, for example, botrytis, which I like. So sometimes we harvest also grapes with botrytis.
Okay.
We use some sulfites at the beginning to try to don't get too high volatile acidity and to don't risk to have strange deviation in the fermentations. But otherwise, the whole vinification is without any kind of additions. And the idea is to have the vineyard speaking. So I do 3 very, very different vineyards, which are all field blends, all made with local varieties mainly. And so I want to express the terroir, the place more. And that's why I don't want to touch them too much. And, but of course, with control. So I'm there, I'm monitoring the wines, I'm trying them all the time. I don't want that they get strange smells or reductions or other problems. So when it's necessary, then we add some sulfites. We try to stay always very low. But so that's the philosophy, to try to don't touch it too much, but try to make it clean and nice.
Is reduction really a flaw? I've had this discussion recently more than one time. So is reduction a flaw or is it not a flaw in the wine?
Depends.
It depends.
Depends.
Okay. Because
for example,
somebody told me if you're like a sommelier, reduction is an immediate, elimination. It's a flaw, and
no. For me, it's not that reduction. I mean, there is one term, reduction, but for me, it has so many different faces and expressions.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, reduction is already something which is bad, stinks.
Okay.
But there is many other phases between clean, open wine and a reduction, which are very positive. So I like that the wine at the beginning is a bit shy, it's a bit closed, I would say, but not reductive. So when it's reductive, of course, is a problem for me.
Trying to avoid that sort of cooked onion and garlic, sort of extreme reduction, and trying.
Absolutely.
That happens to Friulano a lot, from what I understand.
Yes and no.
It has that tendency to do.
Yes, that's true. Compared to other varieties, more, for sure.
I've almost come to sort of think of that sort of reduced type of Friulano, a little bit of reduction, as kind of typical. Mm-hmm. Would you say that that's true, or?
Well, it was for me in some famous wineries from the region in the past years. So, of course, now we can say typical, but I mean, it's more a style. And the Friuli style of making Tocca Friulano, yes, it was a lot in the past, with a bit of reduction.
Right. Yeah. So but you're trying to avoid that in your wines. A little bit of reduction?
No, a little bit, yes. So as I said, I like that the wine, when you just open it, is a bit shy. Mm-hmm. It's not so
open and explosive.
Open, yes. Yeah. And I like that it then opens up in a glass. I like that it needs this time, that you take your time to enjoy this glass of wine. And especially this vineyard here is not a very typical Friulano vineyard because it's so fresh exposition and fresh area. And it shows more these floral parts of Friulano, so more the relation to probably the old Sauvignon As.
Okay.
So it's more like this kind of expression than a typical, very ripe, alcoholic, and rounded with this almond taste Friulano.
If I was to taste this blind, I probably would not guess that it was Friulano.
Yeah, I know, because
especially 80% Friulano. You said, right?
It's a very particular place, vineyard. Yeah. I see also in my cellar a difference in the opposite side in Pradis, which I call the wine Valdo. Is also 50 to 60% Friulano, but there is totally different. So it's an extremely different wine, even if it's less than 1 kilometer distance between the two vineyards, but the exposition, the place, the soil is different. So that makes a totally different wine, which is more similar to a classic Friulano.
So wood, no wood, cement,
only concrete.
Only
I have an old cellar that I rented, and it was already with some concrete vats. Then I could find more and added more concrete vats. Plus I use also some wood, but not in this wine. So this wine is only concrete.
Only concrete.
So it makes 1 to 2 nights of skim fermentation. So it's not really a fermentation because it's just starting. So we are waiting that the ferment starts. As soon as the ferment starts, this Italian term to say alzata di cappello, so we wait that the grapes come on top of the juice. It means it started to ferment. We press straight away.
Okay.
So we don't keep it longer there. We just want to have the good start, to have the spontaneous yeast to work good. And then it ferments without skins in concrete and stays in concrete.
Okay. And so what's the process of pressing then? Do you like remove everything and then press everything, or do you just get the skins off the top and press what's on from the top?
So we first of all take the juice out and put it directly in a tank. And what is left, the grapes, well, I don't destem, I don't squeeze too much the grapes.
Oh, okay.
So also the other wines which makes a longer period on the skins, some of them I do, I never destem, so I always keep the whole bunches.
Why is that? Why have you chosen to do that?
Yeah, we go back to the Australian experience actually, because when we did our trials, for me the result was incredibly better with stems, with whole bunches to work with Friulano, and that's why from the beginning on, when I thought to start, for me, it was straight away, I don't even need to try the stemmed grapes. For me, it's like 100% better with stems. Wow. So that's why I decided, and all my production is always with stem. I don't have a destemmer. So
you don't have a destemmer? No. So do you do like a little crush before they go in?
Yes, we crush a bit with the feet, and that's it.
With the feet?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
okay. That's amazing.
Very simply, because this way also we can control better the the amount of grapes we want to crush. Because in some macerations, in some varieties, where I have, in one vineyard, we have Pinot Grigio, for example.
Okay.
I like to have a lot of whole bunches inside and without crushing them. So this way we can choose how much, if we just give a little squeeze and try to keep a lot of grapes, whole bunches, just enough to have some juice, or we squeeze more. So we can control it much better.
Is there a little bit of sort of a carbonic maceration
When
going on that way? Yeah.
Well, not really, because the carbonic maceration is when it's going on without juice.
Without juice at all.
That's a carbonic maceration, yeah.
Okay,
so then some people say semi-carbonic to this kind of vinification, but for me it's just a maceration with whole bunches. So more similar to what they do sometimes on Pinot Noir. That's why I do it on Pinot Gris, because I think it's a variety which can work perfectly this way.
And what does that technique bring to the final wine?
Well, on the Pinot Grigio, is also, in this case, the idea to find some lightness. If you see this wine also, the idea is to have light wines, so not heavy, even if I do very light harvests, as I said before, sometimes with botrytis as well. But we try to have lightness, and we bring it in using stems, using whole bunches, because I noticed that during the vinification, and during the fermentation, having stems, especially in Friulano, help us to have more floral notes. The tannin structure is different on the palate. Also, when you do a longer maceration, it's not tannin typical for like destemmed grapes. For me, it feels the wine much longer, so it feels even more acid, which I like.
Okay.
So it's just a feeling. If you do the analytic analysis, what can happen sometimes, the only difference using stems can be lower alcohol. This can happen.
Can be lower alcohol.
Yes. If you do a comparison, I remember when we did this in Australia and also in other places when I help some friends, directly you see the difference. If you use the stems in vinification, you reduce from 0.5 to 1% alcohol.
What's the mechanism behind that? I'd never heard that before.
I would assume it, but
sugar is sugar, right? I mean, you would think.
I don't know exactly the technical reason. Unfortunately, I never studied that. But it's actually on every scale that you find when you measure juice is always written with stems, without stems, and the percentage changes. And that's true. So I could see it with my eyes. It's totally true.
Wow.
Yeah.
This I did not know. I learned something
at the beginning
new
was also for me this idea. So this way I can also help to have a bit lower alcohol. For example, the wine we're trying has 12.5. Other vintages have even 11.5. This wine. Yeah.
Right. Well, okay, north facing, but 12.5, that's rare for Collio.
Yeah, 24 in this case.
Right.
Yeah. This is a bottle, actually it was bottled a few months ago. I still haven't tried it. Actually, we are talking and I still haven't tried my glass. But I haven't tried it since the bottling. So I was curious to taste it together with you and to have an idea about it. Because
it's definitely something that I would sort of put into that kind of box with natural wine, but not with the usual flaws that you would find with natural wine. Obviously, we're talking about something that's not filtered here. We're talking about the hazy wine. So, but do you think that's something that is important as far as, not only your wine making philosophy is concerned, but your marketing after what you're trying to sort of sell out of Collio, this style of natural wine?
Yes and no. I mean, when I've started, I wanted really to crash into the really natural wine philosophy and work and follow this idea. But I realized actually what is also more contemporary, to understand that it doesn't really matter if it's natural or not. What matters is the result. So I believe in the way I work in the vineyard, because we work in a certain way and so on. This fil rouge then at the end is also to work with a wine in the cellar which is not touched so much, is not influenced from any other chemicals. And for example, the not filtration is an important topic for me. It's something which I'm working on, because I actually don't like that the wine is cloudy.
You don't like it?
No, I don't like it. So it's something I want to correct in the future, but it was in the past impossible for me. The cellar was so tiny that I had always to bottle after latest 11 months before the new harvest come. But now
need the space for the new wine.
Yes, now I'm organizing myself to keep some wines longer, so that they can stay a second winter in the cellar, so they can decant better and they don't need a filtration and they will be perfectly clean.
Oh, okay.
So that's more the idea. So for me, it's not the cloudy part is not really a desire. It happens because I don't want to filter.
Okay. So you just don't have the time to let it settle out as long as you would prefer it to be
Yes,
settled
correct.
down. Okay. All right. So that's interesting. Was there a wine or a winery that sort of inspired you to go in this direction, or did that start in Australia as well? Or maybe someone here in Friuli who were like, I like that guy's wine or that girl's wine. I want to sort of follow in that style.
Yeah, it's a common question. A lot of people ask me this. And for me, it's very difficult to answer because when I grew up as a young boy, I used to drink really everything with friends. As I said, most of my friends are winemakers. I'm coming from winemaker families. And most of them were doing very classical Collio wine, so typical Friulano, young, bottled, and so on. And I really enjoyed that. So there are some wines which I really love, and they are made in this way. And for example, one of them, which for me was always inspiration for Tocca Friulano, was Renato Keber, which is in Zegla.
Okay.
And on the other side, I also grew up in a moment when orange wine became a thing.
Okay.
So I started to drink the first Radikons and Grounders from the beginning. So I know very well from the first vintages on, all of them. And so I always grew up with these two phases. I was drinking both things, and I liked both things. And what changed a lot was after Australia, when I started to work with Marco Simonit, traveling through Europe and USA and South America. I got to know a lot of other people, got to know a lot of new or different styles of making wine. And so actually, when I started to make my own wine, I was not inspired from the wines from Collio. So my idea was more to make something different, what was my taste.
Okay.
And that's probably why this wine tastes like this now, which is not so typical for the region. So the last years I spent a lot in Austria and Germany and Eastern Europe. So I like also a lot the lightness, the beautiful freshness and precision acidity, which some wines can have.
Right.
I also like the very ripe style, which we can have in Italy. So I somewhere in between. So yeah.
Was there a producer or a place in your travels that you said, okay, that's kind of like the paradigm, the benchmark that I'm sort of striving for? These like, that's the kind of wine that I want to make. Was there one particular place or person that you met that inspired you?
For sure. So there were some persons which inspired me a lot. One of them for sure was Andreas Schumann from Weingut Odinstahl. This is in Pfalz. It's a very particular winery where they make, basically natural wines, I could say. So, I mean, with low intervention in a very unique place. But what inspired me more was actually the way of working there, but especially on the vineyard side. He's a guy, Andreas, who has a big biodynamic experience and very open also minded. So not a closed biodynamic thinking, but a very open.
Not religious.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
And the conversations with him, the time with him was really nice. And also I liked a lot to drink wine with him. It was a really good time. This inspired me really a lot. And plus then drinking with some and trying other wines around in Austria a lot. So they have a lot of friends, winemakers in Austria, which were inspiring me. For example, Klaus Preisinger, the way he approaches to wine in the fun way, the lightness, the energy that you find inside the wines. No, they are, for example, real natural wines without any kind of addition, even without sulfites.
Wow.
And but made in a bigger scale because it's not a small winery. So he makes a lot of bottles, and to experience this was very interesting for my palate, for my mind, for my growing.
Okay. So you saw it and you said, yeah, I could do that too.
Yes.
Like a big guy like this can do it.
Yeah. That was a big idea too, yeah.
All right. That's cool. And so what about out in the vineyards? What is your sort of practices out in the, are you biodynamic as well? Or
I would not say biodynamic. So we are organic certified. My parents already did this before. So actually they started the conversion in 96, 97 when they were taking over some vineyards. And they follow up just a typical organic certification. So the vineyards were always green with grass and spraying only copper and sulfur. What I've changed after I started was actually some things. For example, one of the first things was to, keep the grass in the vineyard, but actually try to cut it less as possible.
Okay.
What I discovered through the studies around and experiences that more you let the grass grow, more vitality you keep in your soil, and actually only cutting grass so many times as we are trained to do here in North Italy, is actually nearly negative. So I kind of, from what I experienced around, is nearly better to sometimes work the soil than just cut the grass all the time.
Okay.
Because you limit a lot the quantity of herbs present on your field. You also don't stimulate so good the root growing and so on. So having a higher grass is very important, also to have a bigger shadow on the soil to keep it fresher during summertime. So for the microbiology of the soil is super important.
Yeah.
And I noticed a lot of difference in the last year since we really now trained a lot on this, and was also important point with my father, because he was used to do another work. So cutting the grass all the time. He loved to have this classic golf field.
Golf course.
Yes,
Beautiful,
golf course.
Yes.
And for me, it's
manicured lawn.
Yes. So for him, this is pretty. For me, it's horrible.
Okay.
And we need a lot of years now to understand each other. And now he gets what I want. He understands it. And for me, it's wonderful to see a field full of different grasses and flowers and insects and so on. That's incredible for me. And for me, it's not a problem to walk in the field with 1 meter, 1 meter of grass. That's okay.
It's fine.
So it's normal. We are working in nature, so we are not working in a building. So it's normal to have a lot of plants.
Yeah. And humidity is not a problem. Everybody sort of, that was the thing, right? You got the grass because this way the air can flow beneath the vines and make sure you don't get the problems with mold and things like that.
So it's an important thing to say. I have the possibility, and for me it's a lucky thing to have only old vineyards. So this, what we are drinking, is one of the youngest we have, planted in 68.
Wow.
All the other are much older, going back to
almost as old as me.
And a lot of them are older. And in the past, here people used to plant vineyards in a different style. They were lower density. So we have approximately 3,000 plants per hectare. It's not much. The rows are very wide. The plant distance in the row is very wide as well. So, and plus the trunks and the vine is trained very high.
Okay.
So we don't have this problem. In some vineyards, even I don't cut the grass below the vines. So we never cut it. We have some vineyards since like 4 or 5 years. We never cut the grass. We just keep it growing.
Just let it grow.
Yes, because it comes maximum to 1 meter, 1 meter 20.
Right.
And my grape zone is over that.
Oh, okay.
So it's not a problem.
It's not a problem.
Yes, correct. So that's the important thing. Of course, if I would have low vines, some colleagues have here, because many plantations, many in the 90s especially, were more high density, lower wires. Of course, is a problem to have too much high grass.
Right.
But also there, personally, I would find a compromise somehow, because only cut the grass, unfortunately, is not so good for our soils.
Yeah. But the things that the Verpuzzis always tell me about, because they're the insect guys.
Yeah,
is that they're like, if you cut the grass all the time, what you're doing is you're also cutting down sort of the natural life cycle of some insects that are living there that are beneficial for the vineyard. So if you let the grass grow and let these insects develop and then mature and then go out into the vineyard, they'll fight on your behalf.
Yes.
To protect your vineyard. So if you keep cutting, those bugs never develop. They never get out of the larval stage. So yeah, it's important not to sort of get too golf coursey about your vineyards.
And plus, the other thing, the canopy, we avoid removing leaves. We make, of course, because of my past as a advanced pruner, of course, we prune our vines in a very particular way and very precise. So in springtime also, we removed a lot of shoots and try to keep only the best shoots I need for my production and for my future pruning.
Okay.
And then we try to do less as possible. So no removing leaves. We don't trim the canopy. We always keep the canopy free. In some vineyards, we don't even wrap the shoots around the wire.
In fact, I was wondering if you were wrapping or you just let it grow down.
Yes, we have them to go vertically first, because of course we drive by tractor in spring to spray. So we need the space, and we don't want to break all these shoots. But after they already have this vertical position, they are attached to the wires, then we let them again free. So sometimes they come back down if they are vigorous enough. It happens a lot in some vineyards. And this increases again the amount of shadow, which for me is again very, very important, especially because the summer months here are very, very hot.
Very hot. So you're really looking for that freshness, cool,
Yep.
cool soil, cool vineyards, cool grapes,
Cool
to
grapes, yeah.
northern exposure. You're really looking
Well,
to.
this is a situation because of this vineyard. The other
Okay.
vineyards are south exposure. I cover them even more. So
Even more.
This wine, in particular, we are drinking now. Here, sometimes we have to remove a few leaves, a spring, very early to have enough air coming through when there's a lot of peronospora, so of mildew. Because here is a rainy region. In May, June is a lot of rain, and there is a flowering. So there we need a lot of air inside. But after, I need shadow because then come July, August, which are crazy hot.
Right. Except for this year, where June and July flipped.
Yes.
Right. We had a hot June and then a cold July. Weird.
Yeah,
but
very
anyway,
weird. Yeah.
How did it go in general this year with that strange sort of inversion of those 2 months?
Yes, it went actually well. I was surprised how the vineyards were beautiful this year. What was, of course, issue was the size of the grapes, of the bunches, the berries. They were very big because the flowering conditions were perfect. Also, the plants of picolit we have there, they were totally full grapes. I never saw picolit so full with so many berries per bunch. So very compact grapes. And this was, of course, an issue then in harvest time because it started to rain again in September. And so we had to really be very precise in the moment when we harvest. Some parcels we could not wait longer, was just impossible because otherwise the grapes would explode.
Okay.
So
Wow.
it was more challenging in the harvest moment.
Okay. Than the actual growing season.
Yes.
But overall quality this year,
I'm very happy. Yeah, beautiful wines.
Really?
Yes,
I haven't heard anybody complain about.
Yeah, because the quantity
2025.
was good. We have issues with hail storms. We had on the other vineyard we have in Località Pradis, close to Cormons, we have 2 years in a row big hail storms. Last year, this year again. So this was probably in the quantity of the grapes, of course.
How much did you lose?
Oh, more than 70%.
Oh my God,
yeah.
so
Also
much.
Last year. Yeah. It was a lot this year, last year. Yeah.
That's horrible. Is that less of a problem here on Monde?
Luckily, there was a little bit last year of hail, so in 24, what we're actually trying now. But I started to install hail nets on the vines, especially in this vineyard, because for me, this is the most important vineyard I have. Where I'm more related to it also emotionally to this vineyard, plus I love the quality. So I started to invest and put hail nets on the vineyard.
Okay.
Since now 3 years, and step by step, I'm covering the whole vineyard.
Okay. And they have come in handy. Have they saved some grapes?
Yes. The difference was big.
Big
I saw last year we had half of the vineyard covered and half uncovered from the nets. The difference was incredible.
Really?
We saw it especially on harvest time. Also, my workers and people who helped me at harvest time, they were all like really struggling to harvest the part with hail because we had to clean a lot. And I like to make a big precision during the harvest time and remove all the bad berries.
Okay.
And then when we came to the part of the vineyard with the nets, it was like 3 times quicker. And everyone was so happy. It was most beautiful grapes. Yeah.
Wow.
Totally different.
Gee. Okay. Well, so it almost seems like that extra work in the beginning pays off.
Definitely.
At the harvest time.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow. That's impressive. Is this problem with hail, do you see this becoming an increasing problem? Is this something that's getting worse with global warming and all that stuff?
Yes. That's definitely the biggest issue we have in the last years. Yes.
Yeah.
Hailstorms are more frequent and they are more violent, they're more strong, they're more intense. My grandfather also had hailstorms, but he remembers once every 10, 15 years coming on that hill. And now they are more often. And I have to say, probably we are more unlucky because the part of Cormons, the southern part of Collio, is actually more affected by this problem because most of the storms come from the flat, from the west. And when they crush the hills, then they normally separate the clouds in different parts, but we are just at the beginning of it, so we always get hail. Then the other hills get less. Also Capriva, as you know, last year it was devastated and so on. So this part, the more southern part of Collio, actually is suffering more.
Because I remember hearing that Pradis got hit last year and this year. It's like, God almighty, it's every year now it seems like it's hit. Because I remember when I came here in 98, it was like every once in a while. I remember having a hailstorm just before the harvest or right at the beginning of harvest in Butrio. And that was the first time that ever happened. And I don't ever remember it happening again after that for years. But now it seems like every year somebody gets hit. So
yeah,
And what about just overall general the heat situation? Is that something that you're having to manage as well? Things getting hotter?
No, well, the intensity is changing for sure, but actually not, because I remember the years, the 2000s, when I was a teenager, it was actually much hotter. So,
03.
yeah, for example, 06 and so on, they were very hot summers, I remember it. And the last years, I don't feel that. So we are quite lucky in that east part of Friuli, because we have still some influence from east with the winds. So the last summers are actually okay.
Okay. And what about this most recent disaster that hit, the one that hit Brazzano so badly? You're also on Monte Quarino, and that was where that big landslide was and a lot of damage. Did you have any landslides or any damage?
On the north side was nearly nothing, no
goodness.
problems. It was only the south part which was very hit from that. Yeah.
Really amazing. You never seen anything like that in
Me neither. I
Friuli
was very
before.
impressed.
Yeah. So you mentioned before some important names like Radikon and Gravner, and I wanted to talk to you also about the project that you have in Gorizia, che si chiama Senza Meja. And when I was doing, and this will all come out in January. Your episode will come out before, but I just did 4 episodes in Burda for the first time in the history of La Taverna. I'm doing something outside of Friuli. And your name came up. And I was like, yeah, that's right. I met Nikolas when I went to the tasting with Emanuele Muzzo. And I was like, I've been meaning to call him. And since your name came up again, I really wanted to go to the opening, but for some reason I either forgot or I couldn't make it that night. So how did that project sort of come together?
So the idea is from a group of friends, how it started. Actually, one day, some years ago, Ivana Radikon, so the youngest daughter of the family Radikon, asked me to take part of this little group of blind tasting friends, kind of. And cool. We started to meet and making some blind tasting together and to spend some time. And the basis idea behind this was not to train on blind tasting, but to stay together. And then I realized, wow, why we don't do something more real, something more concrete, more serious? Because actually there is a lot of young winemakers which are taking over wineries or started new projects. There are several starting new projects around.
Right.
And why don't we do a project all together where we can collaborate, where we can grow together, where we can stimulate also our region to discover what is organic viticulture, because that was for us the basement of this. What is biodynamics? What is regenerative agriculture? And I invited all these different people I know. I met actually, before I talked a lot with Christian Keber, which was one of my best friends, and we share a lot of experience together about this kind of viticulture approach. And then we spoke about, we made a list who we can invite, which is really on this wave following these ideas. So it was not based on the wine style, it was more about the viticultural side.
Okay.
So we wanted to really try to get together who is young and who believes in this kind of approach. And then, of course, we said yes, but we also need to put some limits on the wine style, because personally, we don't want to have someone who manipulates the wines and makes very industrial approach of winemaking style. We want still to have something a bit authentic from the region. And we want, of course, to have Slovenia, Italy, all our regions together, this area, which, of course, now is separated from a border, but as you know, geographically is not separated. So it's the same hills. And so we invited a lot of people and we said, let's start a group. And with this group, we can make different things. And the first thing we have started was a pop-up wine bar.
Right.
To promote our wines and to make tastings and to also sell some of our wines and to spend time with our customers. We made it in Gorizia because Gorizia is this year the capital of culture.
Okay.
So we found a spot because one of the wineries actually, which is part of the group, has a house there, and they have this little shop below which was closed, was never open. And
it was an old ferramenta, it was an old hardware store or something?
No, it's in front of it.
It's in front of it.
Yes, yes. There we made like the opening event because our shop is really tiny, very small. And to make a big event, we needed a big space, and that's why we rented just for that evening for the grand
Okay, I
opening.
was
with
under the
many-
impression that the store was in
No,
there.
no. It's really a big place, that one. And so yeah, that's how it started.
Okay.
The idea is then to make a lot of events together. So we already did this summer when some restaurants or other events invite us to make tastings with more winemakers from the region. We
Okay.
go always and present ourselves as the group of Senza Meja. And we
Okay.
don't go all, because at the moment we are 25 wineries
Whoa, okay.
between Italy and Slovenia, from Colli Orientali to Trieste to Carso, so Coglio, Berda, and so on.
Wow.
And we don't go all always, but who can on that day will go, and we're just under the same group.
Okay.
And the next step will be now to open to more winemakers, because actually a lot of other young guys came close to us and said, "Oh, we would like to join.
I wanna be
It's
in the group,"
great
yeah.
to have a group of friends to grow up together." And what we next want to do is to do some sessions of training. So training on, for example, geology, or biodynamics, or on other topics which are very interesting for us at the moment.
Okay.
And we started now to
So
look
training
for,
amongst yourselves.
yes, so to
okay.
use our budget, what we can get through selling some glasses of wine in our pop-up wine bar, or from also our finance, to just when we put some money in our casa, let's say, of the association,
Okay.
and then invite some experts to teach us something new, to take time to discuss together, to grow together in some new topics.
Okay. And so how long is this pop-up? Because when you say pop-up, normally you're talking about something temporary.
Yeah, it's temporary. So
temporary.
it was open in summertime. We started in end of June, and it was
Okay.
open until October, end of October, but not every day, only some days per week. Now was November closed. We took a break, and we do now before the Christmas period.
Good.
And then beginning of next year, we are planning to don't open, because we want to invest our time actually in planning this training session for us.
Okay.
Plus maybe doing some trips, visiting other regions. So that's a bit the idea.
Interesting. That's very interesting. So yeah, so it's not a promotional group necessarily to sell more bottles. It's sort of a group of like-minded producers who are trying to learn more about that style of work in the vineyard, I guess.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Plus
Okay.
make promotion, of course, because when we travel, then we promote our wines. But the main focus is basically to grow a group and important relationship, friendships, and to stay close, because in this moment we are all full of projects, work, and everyone is lost in his things. But as soon as we started that, we realized actually it's great to spend more time together. All the time we talk, like each time we meet, it's so funny. We talk about which kind of machine you have on your tractor, whatever you just have in your cellar. You met this importer, he's looking for another wine, and you start to share a lot of things.
Really?
Not only experiences, but also customers, for example. For us, it's not the idea of competition. It's actually idea of sharing.
Really important, because in the past, my experience here has been that there was like very early generations that sort of lived through the Anni d'Oro, the most lucrative period, growth period of Friulian wines, that they became kind of closed. It's like, okay, I have my little market and the world is not a big place, so I got to save and not share. And then I was thinking, well, obviously the next generation will open up, and they didn't. And so now it's like the third generation down the line that now it's starting to open up a little bit, which is super important. I think it's really, really
and
important.
also to open up a bit in the wine style, because I think when you talk about, for example, natural wine, it's something which it was probably necessary in the history of wine. For me, I see it always as a necessary step. If you look how the wine developed in Europe, especially after the war, after the Second War, when it was all destroyed, we had to restart, and the modern enology came in, and this and this and that. And then at one point, some producer said, radically, we need another wine style. We need wines without sulfites. We need to go back to the roots and to make more authentic wines. And some wines were also too extreme, also in my opinion. And we have like some wines which are, yes, you can consider it natural, but they have faults inside and
flaws.
Flaws. Sorry, I don't tolerate that. And I think now is the perfect moment where the two extreme can start to go back together somehow. No? We have when you talk with some winemakers from the generation of my parents, they are on one side or on the other side. Like, or they make extremely technical wines. They don't even try the other wines. They don't want to even see what's going on the other side.
Okay.
And exactly on the other side. Like on the other side is like who is making extremely natural wines and don't even want to consider, don't even want to try the other wines.
Right.
Which for me is a totally wrong thing, because exactly also because of this, our region risks to stop growing.
Yes.
And to continue to grow, and we need to stay together. We need to put together these ideas and try to find new solutions. And of course, I would have a influence in my taste because I grew up with that taste. I will have the influence of this kind of taste. But I need to be more tolerant also for the other side, and exactly the same on the other side. So we have to just come back together. And we see how being a group, sharing things, actually it helps a lot. All of us. It's not, as you said before, it's totally wrong approach to make, like, be jealous of your neighbor and to don't share your contacts and don't share that. It's totally wrong approach.
It's
exactly the opposite.
Counterproductive, without a doubt.
Actually, because we are such a small place. Come on, we are a tiny region. We are just making a drop of wine in the whole wine world. So, better is that.
Who's the biggest producer in the group? How many bottles do they make?
Oh, that's a difficult question. I never thought about that before. I don't know.
You make how many bottles total?
So the new vintage 25 will be around 14,000, which is more my target at the moment for the next years.
That's tiny.
Yeah, it's still tiny. It's tiny. And most of them are a bit bigger, but not much. I can't say who is the bigger one. I don't know.
No.
But none is huge. So I
there are
think
no 500,000 bottle wineries.
No, absolutely not. I think the maximum of surface of a winery in our group is maybe 20 hectares.
Okay.
This is like the biggest. And the smallest is maybe 3 hectares. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm about to have 4 hectares. There's someone else in Carso has only 3 hectares. So maybe that's the smallest.
And if somebody wanted to join the group, if a winery came in, what would be the first things that you would ask them? It's like, I really, really want to be part of your group. What would be the first thing? Okay, but you have to.
Yes, correct. We have to respect some of the criteria we have in the group. So the criteria are that you have to work organic or biodynamic or regenerative in the vineyards. And actually we have to control you. So we go to take care. We have this in our statuto. I don't know how it's statuto in English.
The rules of your group.
The rules, I don't know how it's called, because it's a real group, so it's official. We are registered.
Official.
So we have like a statuto is a document that you deposit and you write what are the criteria to be part of the group. And you have to respect this criteria, otherwise you can't join the group.
You can't join the group.
And if you are in the group and you stop respecting all these criteria, you have to go out.
You're out.
So that's the basement, plus to make spontaneous fermentations. And that's it. So other things we didn't want to put because we said you're free to make macerations, no macerations, or
barrique, or amphora, whatever you want to do.
Yes. So we wanted to be more open on the vinification side, but more strict on the viticultural side.
So you said, okay, biodynamic, organic, or regenerative.
Yes.
So the first two I know.
Yes.
Because one of them has like really, really strict rules. The other one says maybe a little bit less strict. Okay, what chemicals you can use. Regenerative, define that for me, because that's one I don't know how to define.
Is an approach in agriculture, which is it was for many years a bit more hidden, I would say. It probably developed strong in America. I think that where it started strongly, and in Italy in the last years also is taking small place. The idea is to basically don't be so strict and religious like in biodynamic, because biodynamic actually, I could consider it a religion. Maybe someone would say no, but I mean, it's more close to a religion.
It's pretty hardcore.
Yes, which I like a lot. But on the other hand, for me, in some moments, doesn't focus enough on the regeneration of the soil. Why we say regeneration? Because when you do agriculture, you are destroying something, because you are touching the soil, you're growing something, you're growing maybe one thing, so a single plantation, so you're making a monoculture. And the approach more similar to permaculture is actually regenerative agriculture, which it means you focus yourself on regenerating, so giving back all what you're taking. And try to leave this piece of land better as it was, if possible, or as close as possible, because better it could never be, but I mean, close to that.
Okay.
And it means making some compost teas. It means focusing a lot on the health of the soil, using the correct techniques, not too many work of the soil. Try to plant more different things on your fields to have a bigger permaculture, actually.
Okay.
That's why also we love to have trees in the vineyards. We planted also a lot of trees, also inside the vines, for example.
Within the
rows.
vines, okay.
Also in the rows in some vineyards, or directly around the parcels, to come back to what it was. Because I remember when I was a kid, my grandfather still have this approach in the vineyard, which was an orchard. It was not a vineyard.
Okay.
He had this 1 hectare of land in San Floriano del Coglio, and this place was everything. So he had the animals, he had the fruit trees, he had the vegetables, he had the vines, and also the vegetables and the other greens for the animals, to feed the animals and so on. It was complete. And this way, the soil can regenerate, because of course, you're not making a single monoculture, which of course slowly destroys a place. And so we need to go back to that. And regenerative is actually what our grandparents were already doing. It's nothing new. The nice thing of regenerative is that now a lot of people are studying this and try to also make some recipes, what you can do as a compost tea. What is a compost tea? To spray on the soil or to spray on your plants. Different preparates that you can do also at home with using your own products coming from the compost of different plants you have to different elements you have already in your garden, and then to give it back to your soil in particular moments, with particular techniques.
Okay.
It's very, very interesting.
Interesting. This was something that I hadn't heard of before, but that is very interesting. Are there some people who are doing that in the group?
Yes, definitely. For sure, the one who is more focused on that is Marta Venica.
Okay.
Yeah, she a lot. And it's also a person which we talk a lot about these things. Then Christian Keber, definitely, as well, a lot. And others too. But maybe these two I know also better, because we know us since more years. So I had the possibility to talk with them about this topic already since many years. So it's for us something more established, I would say.
Okay. And getting back to your wine, so we have Mont, we have the other one made in Prades, Valdo.
Yes.
Okay, and that's named after who? Valdo?
Is the old name of the hill Prades.
Oh, okay.
Prades before, on the 300 years ago, was still called Valdo. It's Wald in German is forest. This was a big forest, and then in Italian they just changed it in O Valdo. They made it like this Italian version, and so I used this ancient name of the hill. And then in San Floriano del Coglio, which in Slovenian is Steverian, I call the vineyard and the wine Verian.
Verian. Is that still a white wine as well?
It's white wine, but it's
you only make white wines?
No, then I make a fourth label, which is a red wine. It's a blend of different vineyards, because I have very small parcels of red wine, which are mainly between the other whites. Not between the vines, but in the rows like next to it, or the terrace below. It's like a few pieces here and there.
Right.
So then I make a big cuvée, which is also a party field blend, a big cuvée. So I don't make any single varietal wine.
Okay. So really focused on place.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then
I think we've talked about this before, Marcel Dice.
Yeah, possible. I don't know.
Marcel Dice, he's the guy who he does all of it. Instead of sort of having like a Grand Cru Riesling and a Grand Cru Gewürztraminer, he has a Grand Cru wine, and he basically harvests everything at the same time. And so he bottles his wines not as a single variety, but as a Grand Cru, the name, and that's it. So he only does blended wines. And so what are the grapes for the red wine? Merlot?
Is Merlot, Schioppettino, a lot of Schioppettino actually, then Carmenere, some plants of Refosco, some plants of other varieties which I'm still discovering. Sometimes I find some Blaufränkisch inside as well, so Franconia in Italy.
Cool.
And
Schioppettino, where are you? In Coglio?
In Cormons, yeah.
No way.
Yeah, there are two old vineyards. One was actually a very funny story, because a friend of my parents one day called me and say, look, I have this old vineyard. I wasn't taking care of it, because a friend of my father was like growing it and cultivating it. Mm-hmm. But suddenly he stopped doing it without telling anything. And they realized one day this vineyard was abandoned for like 3-4 years.
Oh my God.
And I said, if you want, you can buy it. And I said, yeah, okay, it's a good idea. I can buy it. It's old vines. And he said, maybe it's Refosco, because he didn't know. And he's age of my parents, so he's nearly 60. And he said the vineyards was already there when I was born. So he's probably 70 years old. We don't know exactly how much, but more than 60. And so it was abandoned. It was impossible to see what it is. I had to prune it back, regrow it, a lot of years of conversion to restart, to get some fruits. When it came to it, I realized it's Cupertino.
Oh, okay.
And it's in the middle of Cormons, in the really close to the old part of the old town of Cormons.
And how does Cupertino behave in that place? Obviously, it's
Good. Of course, we have the same issues like everywhere else with the Polonospora, with the mildew in springtime. It's a variety which suffers a lot that. So when you look to the plant in springtime, you're always fascinated how big are the bunches or the efflorescence, so that what it will become a bunch. But after the flowering, you go back to the vineyard and there is nothing left. Everything is gone.
Really?
And so it's the crop is actually okay, but small, of course, not a big crop.
okay.
But I like it like this, so I don't need to do any kind of reduction of the quantities, which is something I don't believe. I don't like to reduce quantity.
really?
Never. No, as I said before,
But yet
comes
the
back to the
pruning-
idea of the don't do much in summer. So don't
Okay.
influence too much the growing of the plant. She has to control this by itself. We do already a lot by pruning.
Exactly. I was going to say that goes back to your sort of pruning expertise. That
Yes.
you're already sort of sculpting how you want the vine to behave and how much you want it to produce just
Exactly.
from the pruning process.
Yes.
Okay.
And the shoot feeding. So the green pruning in springtime, which is extremely
Okay.
important. At the beginning, when the shoots are just growing, in that moment is maybe even more important than the pruning itself.
Really?
Yes. Because pruning, okay, is important. You give shape, but if you don't continue this process in springtime, it's all for nothing. So you don't need to prune good and then do a bad job in summer. Brings really nothing.
Okay.
So it's super important to follow that process in springtime.
Interesting. So 3 whites, 1 red, all blends.
And one more white, which is
And
coming
one more
out now in February. The first time is my, let's say, entry level, which is a cuvée of different vineyards that I have, which are lower on the hill. So it's not so single important sites. There are a few small parcels that I have here and there. And I've decided to make like a basis cuvée, which is made of Ribolla and Friulano, and a few other varieties, like a bit of Pinot Blanc, a bit of Malvasia, but it's mainly Ribolla Friulano. So this is like the main varieties inside.
I love this idea of sort of getting out of the mindset where you have to have a grape name on your bottle for it to sell. It's concentrate more on where it's coming from or
Yes.
the style of the wine. And I think that that's something that's going to happen more and more, but it's a challenge commercially because people want to see Pinot Bianco or Friulano or Ribolla Gialla on the label. Depends.
Depends on especially on where you want to sell your wine. So if you want to sell it in restaurants on high end, it's totally different. No one cares about the variety.
Okay.
Actually, the quality is important. So at the end, really, I never had problems with customers saying why you don't see a variety on your label. No one ever asked me this. So
no one ever asked you. No.
It's not an issue, I think.
Wow. Now, when I worked years ago in the business, people would complain. I would show them a blended wine and they were like, yeah, but people don't know how to approach this wine. They see it. And then even if you put on the wine list, the Chardonnay, Sauvignon, Picolite, or whatever it is, Ribolla Gialla, Malvasia, and Friulano, they want to sort of see a grape because it's something for them to latch on to. And even in the restaurant business, they were like, blends don't sell because you basically have Friulano, Sauvignon, Chardonnay, Pinot Bianco, blends at the end. And now everybody's going like, well, I'm not even going to look at those. Those are too complicated. So I'm happy to hear that on the higher end and the clients that you're working with.
I think it's changing a lot.
It's changing.
Yes, especially, as I said, in some restaurants now they're focusing on the region and the producer.
Okay.
Then it's a white wine. It's made with typical local varieties. That's more than enough for the customers. They're all super happy with that.
Okay.
Work very well with this, actually. We export all over the world and works super. So it's good.
So I've had you for over an hour.
Oh, okay, already.
See that? Time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah.
Thank you for giving us a sip of the Mont here. It's very, very good. I enjoy. We have a little tradition here on La Taverna. And normally what I would do is I would have you select from sort of a bag, Domanda del Cavolo.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it was, at first it was actually questions stuck into a cabbage.
Yeah.
But I don't have it. I forgot to bring them today. So I'm going to have to make up a strange domanda for you.
Yes,
so
a strange
and I
question.
remember it was one of the questions that were in the group. So let's see if I can remember well, or at least give you a version of it. So during the harvest, if I were to walk out into your vineyards, okay, without you around, so it's just me and your vines, and your vines could tell me a secret, what secret would they tell me?
Oh, funny question. I don't know where to start.
You don't know where to
Can
start?
be a lot of secrets.
Okay. I mean, I don't want you to tell me any important
No,
secrets,
no.
but
I mean, in a fun way.
it's supposed to be fun.
Maybe a vine would tell you, actually, I'm the favorite vine of Nikolas, not that one. So like he comes here and eats me all the time. He doesn't eat the other ones. I don't know. That can be a situation.
So do you think your vines are jealous?
Can be. Some could be.
The Friulano gets all the attention. Do you think do you think it's like that?
Especially in that vineyard we just drank, together. In that vineyard, definitely. I love to observe these plants of Friulano, and there are some plants which are like my favorite ones, and I take photos all the time.
Really?
Like something I hate of my smartphone is full of the photos of like always the same plants.
Really?
In different seasons.
Why those plants?
I don't know. It was just feelings and just like them, and there's some plants which are definitely my favorite plants.
That's great. You know, I think, I can understand that. It reminds me of, Ben Little.
Yeah.
Ben Little is basically in love with Pignolo, so he has a very emotional attachment to the grape variety and the vines that the grape variety comes from. So it's, you get really emotionally attached to certain plants. I remember speaking to Christian Keber, and he was saying that he has a personal relationship with so many different vines. He's like, I want you this one because it tells me a little bit about how much moisture there is in the soil. But then this one, 3 plants down, is in a different spot that maybe there's a little, fondo di acqua that goes under there. So that gets more. So it really is when you spend a lot of time in the vineyard, you sort of start to get a personal relationship with them. So, okay, well, I'm going to go. I'm going to take a walk through your vineyard and see if anybody tells me how jealous they are of your attention. Cool. Thank you, Nikolas, very much. Is there anything that we didn't cover that you would want to talk about? I always ask this question at the end of a podcast. Is there something that I didn't talk about that you wanted to cover? Or do we hit all the highlights?
Well, one important change which is going to happen, which is already happening, but as I told you at the beginning when I just arrived, I'm a bit tired because my kids are taking a lot of energy. Of course, my girlfriend is taking a lot of more space in the winery, so I am so happy that she will now start more and more. She was very busy with the youngest boy we have, but now, slowly she's coming back on track.
It's going to become a family affair.
Yes, definitely. So that's an important point, which for sure will give influence also in future productions.
Yeah. Is she always been in the wine business? Is she like a wine person?
She actually studied enology. She made a bachelor in Geisenheim in Germany. She comes from a family in Germany of viticulture. So they have a winery there.
How did you meet?
In Germany through the work with Simulator
Pfalz?
Yes, when I was
and she followed you here.
Yes,
you're a lucky
crazy.
man.
Yeah.
Normally it's you who's got to go up there.
Yes. So that was really nice what she did, and now I'm really happy and excited to see her joining in the team and start to really work.
Oh, all the best of luck with that. That's great. It can be wonderfully satisfying, I would imagine, to have your partner working with you, but it could also be a little bit stressful. So all the best of luck with that.
Thank you.
And what about the future? Let's c'è un sogno nel cassetto, as we say in Italian. Is there some sort of thing that you would love to do in the future, or a grape variety you would love to work with that you haven't gotten the opportunity?
No, actually, my sogno is my dream is to have again animals. I grew up as a kid with a lot of animals. My parents used to have like donkeys, horses, goats, chickens, ducks, everything.
Yeah,
dogs and so on. And at the moment we have nothing because we moved and the place where we live has no space for it. So my dream is to finally, I'm looking for a place, to find a place where I have enough space close to my home, close to the house, actual house. and have again a lot of animals, because I think it's great, especially for my kids in the future, to grow up in contact with other animals.
What kind of animals do you want to have?
Pretty much the same what we had before, like that. But
Chickens,
we never
goats.
had pigs, and I would love to have pigs.
Pigs?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not to eat. Really,
I was going to say.
Company.
Normally you only keep them
pigs
for
to
about
have-
a year, but no, okay.
Yes.
So happy family pigs, not
Yes, that's the idea.
not salami and prosciutto pigs.
Yeah, correct.
Anyway, great. Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Nicholas,
Thank
for
you,
sharing your wine and for sharing your time.
Thank you.
All the best of luck.
Thanks.
Hey, thank you for listening here at La Taverna. Make sure you follow us on all the socials, La Taverna Podcast on Instagram, La Taverna Friuli on Facebook. And if you listen on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, it'd be great if you'd leave us a nice 5-star rating. See you next week.